pushing on, but then you went too far. When your ship has sailed and all your dreams are lost, everything is wrong, you feel like it's your fault. Just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just call me. Just call me. Just call me. Just call me. You're stronger now than you ever been. You gotta leave now, it's time to catch the wind. You will climb up high and look through the clouds. And when you're feeling low, I know you'll bounce back. Oh, and just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just call me. Just call me. Just call me. Just call me.
Welcome, everybody, into Sim Racing Media tonight. The drivers of Road and Plate head back to the oval side of things from Hampton, Georgia, here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. I'm Mike Damoni up in the booth. Joined with me, as always, is Matt Metler. Matt, man, how's it going?
Mike, it is going absolutely picturesque, as you mentioned, coming off of the road courses back to the oval. We're at the new hot Atlanta. This track, kind of a little bit of a hybrid. It's part cookie cutter, part super speedway. So what the drafting action is going to be back. These drivers are going to be in that tight pack once again, and this should really translate into some high fly and high octane racing action out there on the racetrack tonight.
Yeah, it definitely should. The track temperature is already triple digits. Should probably continue to be that here, as it looks like we got you guys already out on track. Making their first lap by is Mark Royce, 31:49, coming through for lap number 2. A little bit slower, 31:53, but Aaron Smith is doing what Aaron Smith kind of did last week, up on the top of the pylon once again, 31:33.
You know, if you're Aaron Smith and all you do is start from the pole, you know, I guess that's a great strategy if you're able to execute that week after week. But doesn't matter if it's on the road course or on the plate side of things. He knows how to get it done out there. And we're seeing some excellent performance there out of the 70 once again, as he currently leads here in qualifying.
Yeah, he definitely threw down the gauntlet the last few weeks, finished second last week at Interlagos. The man on the screen now, Brian Molitor, won the race, was able to use a little pit strategy to get out in front and bring home the victory. Right now he's in second with a 31:38.
Yeah, 31:38. So Aaron Smith and Brian Molitor kind of picking right up where they left off last week. Evan Hoopja clocking in currently in that third place position with a 31:39. In fact, Jay Bast and Evan both turning the same lap. You're going to have to take it to the iRacing side of things to see that Hoopja was about a thousandth of a second quicker there as these drivers continue through their lone qualifying session.
Yeah, Jay Bass last week was able to almost put on a clinic. He saved enough fuel to make it without stopping in the feature race, but wasn't able to bring home the win, but still wound up on the podium finishing third. So see what he can do this week as we are set for a 25 lap sprint race. You know, the heat, invert the top 10 and go 50 more.
Yeah, that's one of the things I know I said this last week too, Mike, that I love what this league does. It's something different. You know, all the other leagues that we're grateful to have here underneath the SRM umbrella, they typically don't do this every single week. So it's always a treat for me here on Thursday night when we throw a little bit of the all-star action into the lineup each and every night, as we get to see some of these drivers have to scrape, crawl, and fight their way through the field back to the front. Kind of what we saw last week. You mentioned Jay Bast. You know, during his interview, he was so lit, you would have thought he won the race. And I'm interested to see if that momentum carries over to this week in a very electrifying Jay Bast in his interview last week. I'm excited to keep an eye on him tonight.
Yeah, that is one thing that you're going to see. You're going to see these guys, if they're winning the heat race, they want to get those points. But if they're trying to battle for P10 winds up on the pole for the feature. So definitely something to kind of keep your eye on. Phil Keck here just missed last week starting on the pole for the feature, but still was trying to battle his way back through the field. Looks like we have a couple drivers that haven't been with us in a while. Derek Fouquet missed a couple weeks there, but he is back here at Hotlanta, and now we have Dustin Bally out here making his first laps.
Great to have Dustin, the HMFIC, or as Tony would like to say, head cook, chief, and bottle washer, joining us here tonight in Atlanta. You know, we didn't get a chance to see him out there in competition last week, so great to have him back for this one as we get ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, he definitely was alive in the YouTube chat, giving us all sorts of details on the drivers, and it was kind of fun to have that back and forth with them. Love everybody who does show up in our YouTube chat.
Yeah, you're right, Mike. He may not have been out on the racetrack, but he certainly was alive and thriving in the YouTube chat and keeping all the information flowing to us throughout the course of the race last week. We certainly appreciate him helping out with that.
First time by a 31:77. See what it goes this time. This time, P3 31:38. It looks like that is probably going to be the last man out there on the qualifying grid. We have Michael Gudger here. Look like he started to make a lap and then thought better of it. And Devin Jack has not been out on the track yet as well.
So virtually everyone has put down a qualifying lap, minus Michael Grudger, who may have had a qualifying problem, as Mike just mentioned, and Devin Jack. But hey, we have an expanse in drivers tonight. We got some more faces out there in competition, which is great to see. And then, hey, how about Dustin Bally putting up a great lap in qualifying, a 31:38. So looks like that's going to lock him in that third place position, Mike. And you have everyone at the front of this piece who you would expect to be there. Aaron Smith, Steve Loving with the great effort, Brian Molitor. This heat race is shaping up to definitely be one to get the party started here tonight.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be something to watch. Like I said, we got 25 laps to get us started here. So they'll wrap up this qualifying session in a couple minutes, and then we'll get rolling. Nobody in the qualifying session. Obviously, we're going to hit the speeds that we're going to see here momentarily when they get on the track and start drafting around. We saw Aaron Smith go sub 30. And I imagine we're going to see a lot of the drivers get there as well once they get hooked up here in this new quad oval. A couple years ago when Atlanta redid their configuration, they took the baking up from 24 degrees to 28. So you get that little hybrid super speedway action here at this 1.5 miles. So definitely.
One thing. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead, man.
There. One thing I think that catches people by surprise about this speedway is, in all intents and purposes, it races like a super speedway. It looks like one now, but because you don't have the distance, we didn't increase the mileage. We didn't increase the distance around this place. We're still about 1.5 miles. When you're coming through that tri-oval wide open in that draft, racked and stacked on top of each other, it's really easy as a driver to make a mistake. And things happen a lot quicker here. You don't have those long straightaways. You're spending more time in these corners. So if you sleep on this place, it can actually come up and butt you. This is certainly one of the tracks that you want to give it its due respect.
Yeah, especially if you're coming out of turn number 4. Sometimes you can see guys, especially when it's as hot as it is here on the track, they'll get a little loose, slide up towards that wall, and it will come out and bite you before you get headed down towards the start-finish line there.
That's a great point, Mike. And in fact, in my race, in Racers Elite earlier in the week, if you ran the bottom, after about 10 to 15 laps, you would really start to cook that right front. And as a result, if you didn't break the throttle or start to check, at least lift on entry, your truck would want to go up the hill, and that would cause big problems, especially when you got 2 trains running around this place. So something we're going to have to watch for as we now transition over into the first heat of the night.
Yeah, so they are getting in their rides here. Should be getting in here. There we go. I said we've got Aaron Smith on the pole. Steve Loving just to his outside. Then we've got Dustin Bally and Brian Molitor back in row 2. Row 3, Evan Hubschak and Jay Bast. Laura Wiseman and Samuel Stoner. Nick Sarif and Dan Ott. Robert Brobst and Sean Johnson. Chris Winslow and Ken Estep in row 7. Row 8 is Mark Royce and Benson Weaver. We got Derek Fouquet and Tom Wendt. In row 9, row 10, Phil Keck and Johnny Rapp. We also have in the tail of the field Michael Gudger and Devin Jack. So that is where we start this heat race. Where will we finish after 25 laps, and who will finish in P10 to get the pole for the feature?
That's right, Mike. You're going to have to strap in and hold on with us right here live on SRM as we await this field to roll off behind that Iracing.com pace car. And, Mike, we got 22 drivers that are going to take the green flag here in heat number 1. And I can promise you, where they line up now, they're not all going to finish here. There may be some glorious high-flying electrifying crashes. There could be some drama out there on the racetrack. And this configuration on the Cup side of things has put down some brilliant finishes as of recent. And I think we're going to get a little taste of that here tonight as that field starts to roll off.
Yeah, I think you are right. We're going to see these guys find their dancing partner, try and work together, get some laps logged here. But it'll all come down to who you can trust at the end of this race.
That's a great point, Mike. Who do you trust out there? This is where having that chemistry, being out here in competition, getting to understand and know the other drivers that are out here each and every Thursday night. When you're stacked in this train, you don't have a lot of visibility out of these trucks. You can barely see out the front window, let alone 2 to 3 trucks in front of you. So that guy that you're pushing, your battle buddy out there on the racetrack, you put a lot of faith in them that they're going to make the right moves and they're going to keep you out of harm's way at times.
Yeah, you do not have any time to react, especially when these trucks get rolling here. Sometimes they can just come out of nowhere and you can find yourself in the big one pretty quickly.
Or you can find yourself like me going vertical space shuttle status, and the next thing you know, your truck disappears as that pace car pulls off. Aaron Smith here going to have the button and green flag in the air. We are underway from Atlanta Motor Speedway as these glorious V8s come roaring to life.
Set sail off into turn number 1. He's already got a pretty decent gap. Steve Loving staying down behind him. Dustin Bally down there as well. Brian Molitor up on the high side has Jay Bass pushing him through. You see him come down the backstretch.
Coming down the backstretch as Brian Molitor continues to hold on to the lead, but now we have a challenge here on the high side of the racetrack. It's the 4 of the 50, Smith and Bast on the high side. They are teamed up and they have that train coming. One of the first lead changes of the race. Let's see if Molitor here pulls as Dave Regal would call it, the shovel. That's when the outside lane gets you to the front and then you bail on him by coming off to the bottom. But it looks like he's going to stay tucked in right behind the 4, and you can see that surge of energy down the backstretch.
Yeah, just as you say that, the 4 came down in front of Aaron Smith there, then got pushed up to the high side. He's 3 wide going through the front stretch here, and Bast is stuck in the middle.
Bast was stuck in the sucker hole. Oh, a little contact there with the 4. But how about the 65 of Staniel Stoner going into the middle? That's where you typically don't want to be, and literally throws a life bolt there to Bast.
Yeah, and you see Steve Loving pull out with Dustin Bally behind him. Side by side they go with Aaron Smith. Smith is going backwards a little bit here. He's trying to hang on, and it looks like he might have found a partner in Evan Hubschak back there, but he is still losing positions.
Still losing positions, but I'll tell you what, who has found some speed out there on the racetrack, and he's back there in that 16th place position. Michael Grudger ran a 29.56. Mike, that's almost 2.5 seconds than what we've seen out there in qualifying. So there are a lot more speed out there in the draft. We'll have to continue to monitor Michael Grudger as he currently runs 6 positions from where he started. He's climbing up the ladder, now up to 15th.
Yeah, definitely moving in the right direction. Has a few more spots to get to wind up in that all-important P10. Dustin Bally is going to take over the lead here as Jay Bass sends him up the track and dives down to the bottom side.
And he got shot up there into the nosebleeds. Top shelf where Mama hides the cookies. And that's going to cost him a little bit in the momentum department as he's now going to fade just a little bit. Almost makes contact there with the 7. And there they go. We got one up and around going X Games style on the fence. And we got parts raining in the grandstands.
Yeah, and that all started with, I believe, it was Steve Loving there getting a little loose going down to the apron in the corner, then trying to get back up on track. We'll go back and take a look here, see if we can see what happened.
We go back here to the SR instant replay. You see the 27 there of Loving goes drift mode. Little contact there. He's going to go down below that bright red line. That's out of bounds. Now watch what happens here. There's some contact between the 32 and the 24. Light contact, but now we're 3 wide. The 27 tries to squeeze back onto the racetrack, and there's sheet metal there. There's a truck that's going to send the 7 up into the 24. They're going to high-five each other, come back for more, and here we go. This is where the bomb gets cooked. The 7 goes around off the hood of the 24 as everyone scatters. The 4 comes down into the 84, sends him airborne, and watch this shot the 4 takes. Another hard impact to the outside retaining wall. Brian Molitor got yeeted as that racetrack suddenly turns into a high-stakes parking garage with parts raining from the heavens, Mike.
Yeah, it looks like almost everybody had a little piece of that one there. So that is kind of what happens when you're drafting around this track. You get a little loose or a little unwelcome touching there, as it looked like Aaron Smith kind of got into the back of Steve Loving, and Loving got loose, went down below that red line in the corner, came back up, and just wasn't enough room there as he was sliding up the corner.
Yeah, so we literally uncorked the big one on the first incident in Heat 1. And if that could be a sign of things to come tonight, strap in, folks. Make sure Grandma's got plenty of kernel-free popcorn. Mine's sitting next to me, Mike. She's got Life Alert in one hand and a Budweiser in the other. So she's cheering on Jay Bast, who's trying to best the field here in this heat race. He's going to have the lead as this field now begins to stack up behind that Iracing.com pace car. As Mike said earlier, folks, remember, 10th place position, that is the battleground spot. That's the transfer spot. So right now, Chris Winslow has it. But look who's right behind him, Mike, a gentleman we were talking about last week in the 888, Phil Keck. Dustin Bawley highlighted him as one of the ones to watch, and he's already up 8 spots early in this one.
And Devin Jack in that 49 machine, up 14 after not putting down a qualifying effort. Looks like about 14th on back. Came down pit lane. Dustin Bawley still in the pit box.
Yeah, that was such a multiple impacts there for Bawley. No surprise that he is still on pit road getting work to his race truck. As it's the calm before the storm once again. Little Ford on Chevy action, row number 1. That's Baston Stoner. 3rd and 4th place position is going to belong to Steve Loving and Nick Sarif. And look at Dan Ott. As the 29 ride there, he was showing there in that 5th place position as timing and scoring is updating. His lights are off on that pace car. We get set to go back green flag racing this time by. As we wait that iRacing.com pace car to make that abrupt turn down pit road. There it goes.
And Jay Bass with the button as they get ready to hit that Geico restart zone. And we are back racing here in the Road and Plate Hot Atlanta.
Well, we didn't keep it on the road with that last incident as we had some trucks going airborne, but it is hot and it has been spicy here early as we climb it back up through the H pattern once again. Bass gets a great restart, and that's perfect everywhere else. Oh, someone's up on the wall. We're going to stay green here. That was in the back of the second line on the outside train. But as I was saying, Mike, the last thing you want to do is get a big lead here because, you know, with this drafting action, and we got some big-time damage on that 888 machine. I was just talking about him. Broadcasters, Kirk strikes again. Phil Keck, I apologize.
Yeah, it looks like he didn't come down pit lane when everybody else did, so he still has that damage. He's riding around here. He's riding in P11, looking to try and stay in that P10 spot, but the guy who's moving up pretty quickly is that 70 machine. As he came down pit lane, got whatever little damage he had repaired, and now he is trying to make a move as Keck gets loose coming through the quad oval.
Yeah, I was worried about that damage to the front of that truck, how these things make downforce. And if you remember from the top of the broadcast, Mike, I was telling you how getting, if you're on the bottom, getting into these corners, this truck has a tendency to, it'll start off tight and it'll snap loose on you. And that looks exactly like the problem that Keck had there. Is we almost have now two different packs of trucks. We got Group A being led by Samuel Stoner in that Ford EcoBoost F-150. We're currently now working the bottom with the 53. Ooh, that got ugly. That was almost the diamond formation. I thought they were going to split him, but they thought better of it as we're still side by side, door to door up here at the front.
Yeah, door to door, and right now this is a battle for 10th between Aaron Smith and Derek Fouquet. Looks like those trucks are a little bit loose when they head through that quad oval. Aaron Smith going to force it 3 wide on the high side. Into the wall just a little bit there, but he is still moving forward.
Yeah, he is moving forward, and he hasn't really had a lot of help at times. If he could get someone to latch on to him, and it just now as I say that, there is the 52 of Johnny Rapp, and a little more support now coming up to the high line around this racetrack. And look at how much momentum that 70 gains of Aaron Smith, when he gets a little bit of help. I mean, the 52 came up the racetrack, and it was like he was shot out of a cannon. That 70 really has that Silverado wound up on the high side.
Yeah, he found somewhere to go, and he made a pretty quick move. He's running in P8 right now. Johnny Rapp in that 52 machine is running P10 as they kind of got this little group back together.
Oh!
For the most part, Steve Loving involved again, going back up the track. Aaron Smith, Grudger. Oh my gosh, PK, Stoner.
Oh, everybody. Well,
let's see who didn't get involved. Looks like Jay Bast and Dan Ott, maybe.
Maybe. I'm not seeing any damage on the Ford of Dan Ott, and I'm not so sure about Sean Johnson and everyone else. And Mike, he almost had it saved there for a minute. I thought he was about to pull off one of the most wildest saves I've ever seen. And then, you know what happened. There was a checkup. You couldn't get mowed up in time. And then the cavalry just piled in. And it went from to absolute gangbusters as we go back to the SRM instant replay.
Might be in front here of PK. That earns. Oh, there we go. Steve Loving. Go back. Let's back it up a little bit here. Oh, so he slides up the track and gets a little bit of a bad push there.
So no love for Steve Loving. Obviously, that wasn't intentional, but literally this thing is going to set off right at the front of this piece. And the crazy part about this is watch the 27. He almost saves this truck bike. He catches it here. He slides. He's got it. But you got everyone else careening into the outside wall at this point. The 65 is full-blown X Games mode. He almost left the racetrack, and it is a traffic jam on the 495 around Washington. As trucks are just three stooging off of each other. That's the second big one of the evening. And we're barely 16 laps into this thing.
Yeah, it's definitely not what you want to see. Let's see if we can let's see. Take a ride on board here just because we can. On board with Samuel Stoner. Looks good, and then all of a sudden, it's not. So I think we were right. I think the only two trucks that were not involved were Jay Bast and Sean Johnson there.
I don't think Samuel Stoner had any idea that was coming. I mean, he's just riding along, and the next thing you know, he just gets sent into the retaining wall hard. And then, as Tony Trapasso used to say, sky ground, and then wound up in the infield care center.
Yeah, that's definitely
There's
got to be one of the weirdest feelings. You're driving, you don't see anybody around you, and then all of a sudden, you're in the wall.
You're in the wall hard. And in fact, there is a truck out there. Forgive me, I don't have the camera on him at the moment, that I believe did not have a front clip, and I think that's the 28 of Tim Wendt. Or Tom, excuse me. Yeah, the front of that Hardee's machine is missing. So he's definitely not going to be leading one of these trains. He's going to want to be the meat and the sandwich, so to say.
As we are back green, J Bass gets a pretty good jump down on the inside. Everybody else fans out wide. Like they're just trying to race it to the end here. Devin Jack going to push Bass to the front.
Yeah, Bast had a really good restart there. He didn't get shot out as far as ahead, so they shouldn't be able to make that freight train move on him here at the front, but 3 wide, and someone's going in blink mode. Oh, that's the 5. He blinks in at the wrong time. And the Hardee's machine gets taken to the School of Hard Knocks again. Unbelievable. Tom Wendt has that black voodoo cloud over his truck right now, and he cannot get rid of it.
There are 3 wide here in the back.
Yeah, just add a little Christmas mode and watch what happens here, Mike. At least that's what I've seen before the instant replay. There it goes. And he's going to blink back in.
Oh. Looks like the 52.
That's Johnny Rapp.
Yeah, it looks like Johnny Rapp got into the back there of Tom Wendt. But that 5 truck blinking in and out is definitely what kind of caused a little bit of that as well. So,
yeah, I think the 28 reacted to the blinking and may have lifted just a little bit. And that's what caused the contact between Rapp and the 28. And remember, we were just talking about that truck before we were coming back to the green flag. He was already missing a lot of core pieces on that truck, and it hasn't gotten any better.
Yeah, I think from what it sounds like, it wouldn't surprise me if everybody just decides to park their truck here, wait for these last 5 laps, reset, and get it going for the next 50.
Yeah, the next main event. So hopefully a lot of these guys getting it out of their system now. But I'll tell you what, Jay Bast, I mean, he's had a good formula for success. Stay at the very, very front of this thing. Stay out of the carnage and the mayhem. And you may come out of here a winner in this heat race. How about Laura Wiseman up there in second? She's having a great run. In fact, that EcoBoost is looking, or that Chevrolet Silverado, excuse me. For some reason, I thought that was a Ford, so forgive me. But that truck is looking absolutely pristine out there, almost like showroom condition. And that's translating out there on the racetrack. She's currently being scored in that 3rd place position.
So as we get set to go, looks like we're going to take the green with 3 to go.
Folks at home in the chat, sound off. Let us know who you're rooting for. Trust me, these drivers always seem to drive a little bit harder when they know they got fans cheering them on in the YouTube live chat as well. So as lights go out on the pace car, does Jay Bast have another brilliant restart in that Toyota. Does Laura Wiseman break through and get her first heat win here? So many question marks we have, Mike, but you know the answer to it. We're going to find out right here on SRM as the 24 comes in. There's Dustin, and he came flying into the scene and locked it down. I got worried he was going to go up there into traffic, but I think he's just trying to get back in line here so he didn't miss the drop or the restart here.
Yeah, definitely looks like that. But Jay Bass going to lead him on down here as that pace car makes that left-hand turn. We're set to go for 3 more laps in this heat race. Jay Bass down and away. See if he can hang on here with Devin Jack just to his outside.
Yeah, that Molson Canadian paint scheme is rolling tonight. Great looking scheme on that 49 ride of Devin Jack. I thought he was going to come down behind the 53. Perhaps he thought he was going to have a run there, and he's going to swing it out wide again. This is an interesting decision, is that's going to allow Laura Wiseman now to pick and choose who she wants to work with. She's going to come down to the high side and pick up the 53 of Bast. And the train is back together as they, oh my God!
Holy, what in the world just happened?
Somebody is going to be picking their teeth up out of the cockpit of that race truck for about a month.
Yeah, I don't even know what happened.
I don't know either. I seen somebody doing things their truck wasn't supposed to be doing. We'll just leave it at that.
There we go. All right. Derek Fouquet up there in front of the 17 machine there.
So he's going to be in front of the 17 machine. And I think this is going to kick off right around. I don't know where it's going to kick off. I was
almost 4 wide there.
Oh my God.
Aaron Smith involved. Looks like Bali gets through.
How does that's got to be an onboard to go to check out.
Yeah.
But the Windows crashed hard. That's the blue screen of death and then some. Did Bali get through that?
Let's go here.
This will tell the tale. You're on board with Justin Bali. How?
The whole
Are you kidding
the whole
me?
track was covered in front of him.
And we had that slowed down on the replay at speed. I mean, that has to be like the annexation of Puerto Rico and the Little Giants. That's the only thing I can equate that to.
Well, we restack them here. Get set for another green-white checker.
I wish I could catch breaks like that. That is absolutely incredible.
Lights are out, and we are stacked back up here.
That's right. Lights are out on the pace car. Going to try this again. Jay Bast has had the plan. He's been able to keep that Toyota Tundra outside of the realm of carnage, which has happened just a few rows back. Going to try to keep that truck right where it is. Going to have Devin Jack on the outside of him. Lauren Wiseman continues to impress. She's going to restart their P4 or P3, excuse me, there in the 84.
Yeah, Samuel Stoner back up inside that top 5 as well. Aaron Smith running P7 as he was able to get back here. Then we have Steve Loving and Brian Molitor last on the lead lap. They're going to be in that P10.
You remember, a lot of these trucks out here are wounded.
Yeah, there's only 10 on the lead lap, so.
Going to be interested to see if some of these trucks here at the front pull away. We wait for the Geico restart zone. We're there. Oh, Jay Bass tries to fake him out a little bit and goes really late in the box there. But green flag back in the air. That's a great restart there for Laura Wiseman as well. So she's going to pick right up where she left off, working with the 53. And here comes the cavalry trying to get a charge on the high side, Mike.
Yeah, Devin Jack is hooked up with Sean Johnson here. See if they're going to be able to push their way to the front. And they will be there through the corner, but we'll see how the run is coming off. Jay Bass back to the front.
Jay Bass back to the front, but that outside lane is formed up nice and tight. In fact, they're going to get a surge here, and the 49 of Jack is going to lead that lap. Let's see if he comes down to the bottom, and he does with a big-time aggressive move. There's the shovel, as Dave Regal always loves to point out here at the plate tracks. Now, can the 49 keep it there? Oh, God! How did he not? I got to sit out. These guys are going to give me a heart attack, Mike.
Yeah, the 49 was out of shape, and now Sean Johnson is out of shape, wrecking behind him, but we come to the checker, and it's going to be Devin, Jack, and Jay Bass.
How about that finish? The Molson man got him at the line. Devin Jack gonna get the win. Jay Bass, Laura Wiseman gonna catch a podium here. And another big one to end Heat 1. I'll tell you what, Mike. I thought that first wreck was gonna be the biggest one we've seen of the night. They just keep serving up some absolute epic masterpieces out there as far as the thrills and spills go.
Yeah, that was a crazy finish. I don't know exactly what they're going to have in store for us whenever they restack them here for the feature race. But let's see if maybe I can get you to talk to Devin.
Devin, Matt, and Mike up in the Tony Trapasso Memorial booth. You got a copy there, bud?
Oh, yeah, I hear you.
Well, hey, man, talk to me about that feature win. Was it just gut instinct to go to the high side there and go up top to get that run? Talk to me about that feature.
I'm just hoping I wouldn't have lined up on the outside there. Like, this thing, the feature should be a different story. You'll have people that'll be a lot more cautious, I hope, and not be wrecking consistently. But yeah, that last run there, that block the high side was just, well, it's either going to work or I'm in the wall.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that block. I thought you were going to get turned, but you were able to gather that truck back up. Did you learn enough? Did you learn anything from that heat race that you can carry over into this feature race?
Well, it seems to be the only safe place is in the front, and that's usually only if Steve's not there, but judging by how many people spun in, what was it, round lap 10, lap 15. But yeah, it doesn't seem to be that many safe places in the field unless you want to hang out in the back and just ride.
Well, there he is, ladies and gentlemen. He gets a heat win. You heard it. He's going to try to keep that truck up in the front out of mayhem. That is the driver of the 49, Devin Jack. Best of luck out there in the feature.
Oh, thank you.
Mike will send it back up top to you, but you heard him. He's going to try to keep that thing at the front of this piece so he doesn't wind up there and a little bit further on back if and when that bomb goes off.
Yeah, you definitely want to stay out front is what it seemed like here. Of course, we also saw when Samuel Stoner was leading, he just barely got clipped and it sent him into the wall. So it's going to be a little bit of a different scene here when we get reset, as Jay Bass is going to have to start basically in the middle of the field, as well as the race winner there. So they're going to have to work their way back through the field and see what they can do when we get that green flag. They should just be about ready to start gridding up here after they after that heat race.
Yeah, after that heat race, and you heard some of these, or you heard from the the heat winner. He said right point blank, the safest place is at the front of this thing, and that's kind of what we were alluding to in the broadcast as well. However, because of that invert, he's not going to find himself at the front. He's going to be right back, right where all that action was kicking off in the heat race. So it's going to be interesting to see, Mike. Do you take patience? Do you use patience here to get your way to the front, or because of the high risk of the big one kicking off, do you have a little bit more urgency, pep in your step, trying to get back to the front of this?
I think you try and get to the front as quick as possible, but you also want to be, relatively safe, because that anything can happen around you. So they'll get stacked back up here. Let's see if we can drivers back into their trucks. Up here, so we have Samuel Stoner wound up in that P10 spot, so he gets the pole. Dan Ott just to his outside. John Johnson and Steve Loving in row 2. Aaron Smith and Brian Molter in row 3. Benson Weaver and Laura Wiseman row 4. Jay Bast and Devin Jack start in row 5. Then you go back to Dustin Bally and Robert Ropst. Derek Fouquet and Nick Serif make up row 7. In Eastab, Michael Grudger in 8. Tom Wendt and Evan Hubschak in row 9. Johnny Rapp and Chris Winslow make up row 10. And you have Mark Royce and Phil Keck.
So Phil Keck's going to roll off shotgun here as 22 drivers are going to take the initial green flag as we get racked, stacked, ready to rock and roll for our main feature again tonight, which is going to give us 50 laps the distance. And don't forget, we invert the top 10. So if you're looking for a heat winner to be at the front of this piece, that's not going to be the case. He's going to be mired a little bit back in traffic. Devin Jack, if you're following along on him on the broadcast, he's going to be starting in that 10th place position. And just behind him, Dustin Bally had a fast truck, but absolutely got smoked in the heat race. Look for him to try and turn this around and keep that 4-night machine righted throughout the course of this one.
Yeah, so they got the hopefully they got all of the aggression out of their system for these first few laps here, and we can get some laps, green flag laps going. I didn't really see anybody have to come down pit road, but with 50 laps, you never know when that's going to strike. Samuel Stoner with the button headed through the Geico restart zone, up through the gears, and he is down and away.
Stoner gets some absolutely get out of town with that restart on that Fantana ride. Absolutely incredible how he takes off out of the hole like that. And that EcoBoost F-150, as he's easily going to keep the lead here. But here comes the charge on the bottom. There's Dan Ott and company. They're going to have a big, strong push here going down to the backstretch in the turns 3-4 complex for the first time, Mike.
Yeah, and as you saw that, it looked like Dustin Bally pulled out. He's going to go to the back of the field, try and avoid all the calamity, maybe stick around here and try and be around later in the race.
Yeah, that's not a bad strategy. In fact, we see that type of, a deployment, at, Daytona, Talladega. And you know what? The new Atlanta falls right into that wheelhouse, if you ask me, as the 29 continues to viciously push the 65 of Stoner. Here comes that high line starting to get worked in, and look who is flying towards the front, doing it almost by himself. Here comes Aaron Smith on the high side.
Yeah, Aaron Smith, Brian Molter work together here as they are battling for championship points. Samuel Stoner slid up just a little bit on corner exit, but elected to go right back down to the inside, get in front of Dan Ott. But Smith and Molitor are on the high side, and they are looking for the lead.
Oh, Stoner almost picked up a bad push there on the bottom. He had to kind of go into evasive action there to get that truck back underneath him. But here comes the momentum on the high side of the racetrack. It's Stoner that is Aaron Smith and Brian Molitor on the high side. And it's almost a three-way affair for first as they now get back in line. The 70 of Aaron Smith now to the lead.
Yeah, that is one thing you need to watch is the way these guys are pushing. We saw it earlier in the heat race. If they don't hit square and they kind of do the little saw action that you see happen from time to time, that is what has caused most of our cautions is they get a little bit out of line, think they can get right back behind the driver in front of them and just barely clip them and send them off into the wall or down to the inside.
Yeah, and that tri-oval seems to be rather treacherous, especially after they get a couple laps on these tires as well, as it continues to be Aaron Smith just by a couple, maybe a tenth at the line that time over the 65 of Samuel Stoner. Go a little bit further deep in the field. Dustin Bally hit the fastest lap of the race that last time by with a 29.97 that lap. That's an absolute howitzer from the driver of the 24.
Yeah, Steve Loving slowed down, got back to the back of the field, and he is going to stay back there. So a couple different strategies kind of playing out as Smith and Molitor go to the front.
Yeah, Aaron Smith now is going to drop down to the bottom, leave his dance partner there on the outside of the racetrack. And Mike, you mentioned they're in a very heated points battle. So, at times it makes sense to work with your opponent, right? But that's at the other times as a race car driver, you got to know when to flip that switch. And you just kind of, your eyes go red out, inside the cockpit of that race truck. And you do everything you can to go out there and win this race. But no surprise, it's the 70 of Aaron Smith going up against Brian Molitor as they currently control the high and low side of the racetrack as we flare off down the backstretch.
Yeah, it looks like Dustin Bally pulled back out once again. And our heat winner is currently up to P7, up 3 spots from where he started. So he's moving in the right direction, trying to find his way back to the front.
You know who else is finding her way back to the front? Laura Wiseman there, up 2 positions. Just outside the top 5 in that 6th place Valvoline machine. Oh, Mike, did you see what happened to the 32? That RC Cola machine was pointed 45 degrees the wrong way and somehow was able to gather that Chevrolet back up. Absolutely incredible.
Well, Sean almost did it again. Looked like the back end of that ride is just not stable for the moment. He was coming into that quad oval. Like he's got sent up the track just a little bit, but able to grab it and get it back in line here.
Yeah, that quad oval is treacherous, especially, with all this dirty air, that, all that turbulent air these trucks are giving off. And you can see, just to your point, if you go to make a bump draft and it's not perfectly square, especially in that section of the racetrack, it's almost a guaranteed wreck fest each and every time if you do make contact and it goes wrong.
Brian Molitor leading that high side. Still has Sean Johnson pushing him up there. Looks like Aaron Smith is pretty much doing it by himself. Samuel Stoner is kind of just hanging back just a little bit. Laura Wiseman pulled out of line, went to the high side, faded back to P13 now.
And she may have saw a couple warning signals there when a couple of those trucks started to dance and decided it was time perhaps to get out of the hornet's nest. Is the 84 now falling back a little bit. Another truck that's also back here, there's the 53 of Jay Bast as well. Oh, there's trouble. Oh, here we go. And no, here we don't go. We stay green. How in the... I've seen it all this race, Mike. I have seen it all. This is absolutely incredible. That woulda, coulda, shoulda been on the primetime highlight reel, and yet these drivers somehow find a way to keep this thing green out there on the racetrack. Absolutely incredible. Sean Johnson there in the 32. That was one of the trucks I was talking about just a couple laps before, and I thought he was going to be the one to set this track aflame, but not the case. That RC Cola Silverado continues to charge on.
Back, take a look at it here. See what kind of happened. Everybody just kind of bounced around a little bit, but we're able to stay off and stay green. It did kind of separate the field a little bit here. We have like the top, like 8 drivers.
Yeah, you got a 7-8 truck breakaway here. Now, the last time that happened in that heat race, that second group was able to draft back up with the lead pack. So we're going to have to see if that happens here again. Aaron Smith continues to lead laps, and in fact, he seems to be in very good control of this race right now. He's doing a very good job being able to execute and change lanes, being able to pick up the runs from where they're coming out there on the racetrack, as that 70 now has entrenched himself at the front of the field. Here comes Michael Grudger, though. He's going to give him a challenge on the high side, as he's getting a lot of help there from the 44 of Mark Royce.
Yeah, I haven't talked about him too much. He's up 15 spots here, and Mark Royce, his dancing partner, up 19 in that 44 Ford.
Yeah, not 9. I mean, 19 positions. I mean, that is absolutely getting it done out here, especially when we've seen all the potential carnage and mayhem that this track is capable of producing. Mike Royce said all that to the side. He did exactly what you said. Mike said, hey, I'm going to send this on lap 1, and I am going as hard as I can to the front, and that has definitely worked for the driver of the 44.
Looks like they're getting a little close back here in 4th, 5th, and 6th. They were almost 3 wide for a little bit. They thought better of it, got back in line, and now they're not really pulling away anymore. That second group is slowly coming into play.
Yeah, that second group is just a little bit faster each time by, and they are, as Mike said, they are catching this lead pack. Once again, you see that Hardy's machine coming into the picture. That's the 28 of Tom Went. The first race did not go according to plan for him, so he's on a little bit of a recovery mission here as he currently runs just outside the top 10 in that 12th place position.
Yeah, Jay Bast finished second in the heat race, trying to get back up towards the front, but has found himself in the middle of this pack and hasn't really been able to go anywhere, as he is P11 still.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's not able to go anywhere or if he's just trying to stay, in the, single file, just stay out of Calamity Corner, if you will. I know we haven't had any of the big ones, cook off here in this main feature, which is great to see, but we've had a couple signs, that potential is still there as Bass continues to run in that 11th place position. And that outside lane, I'll tell you what, Mike, is not given up on Aaron Smith, as Mark Royce in that 44 continues to work very closely with Michael Grudger on the high side.
Yeah, just as you say, it looked like Aaron Smith slid up, tried to take a little air off of the nose there of the 64 Ford, just trying to slow him down just enough. But they are still hooked up pretty good in that high line. And it looks like Samuel Stoner is going to come up there and try and help a little bit as well.
Yeah, I think you're starting to see that this high line, as we start to get some laps on these Goodyears, 22 on them now. So the Dr. Feelgoods start to become Feel Bads. And when you're running that low line, you eventually have to lift, or at least that's how it was in the truck race that I ran here, Mike, earlier in the week. If you stayed in the throttle, if you kept it to the mat, you would basically especially coming off of 4, that truck wanted to plow up the hill, and the only way to keep it from getting into the competition, was running to your outside, was break the throttle, and I think that's why you're starting to see the outside lane here start to become more competitive and challenging Aaron Smith here. And in fact, the 64 able to surge ahead there down the backstretch as they fire off into the corner.
Yeah, and you can see that outside line's starting to go a little bit higher each lap. They're almost into that outside wall. Samuel Stoner thought better of staying up on the high line, saw a spot and got down behind Brian Moulter, so he is third on the bottom side. But Devin Jack, our heat winner, is now up to P5, and he's riding along just in that outside lane.
Yeah, Devin Jack, P5 and still alive. In fact, he's now challenging for that 4th place position in that 49 ride. So he's been able to come back up through the field as well. Remember, he started back in that 10th place position, and as Mike said, your heat winner. It's been a great battle up here at the front, about the last 10, 15 laps or so between the 64 as Grudger tries to pull a little bit of a side draft and then gets a little bit of a bump from the 44 of Royce. And Mike, you're right. You can see how that outside lane keeps going up the hill. They keep progressing higher and higher out there on the racetrack. That's going to give them a little more room to work with as well, should some of these guys on the bottom get loose or vice versa.
Yeah, I'm going to imagine that you're going to see that inside line start to slide up the track just a little bit, and that's going to allow that outside line to keep that momentum if they're going a little bit higher, as long as they can stay in line. And it looks right now like Mark Royce is trying to stay glued to that bumper of Michael Grudger.
Yeah, glued to the bumper of Michael Grudger. And in fact, here comes a run there once again. A little bit of a team assist there into the corner, Ford on Ford. In fact, you got 3 Fords in line on the high side of the racetrack. So you got the fast Fords working together, taking on the Chevrolet of the 70 of Aaron Smith. Then you got the Toyota of the 4 of Molitor. And almost 3 wide there. 3 wide coming off the corner. Oh, they make contact, and there they go.
Well, you saw it going to happen. As soon as they started to get 3 wide, you knew that trouble was afoot, especially when they were headed into that quad oval.
Yeah, you didn't want to say it, but as we go back to the SRM instant replay, a little bit of contact there. Right of all places, the quad oval. And this is going to be a violent impact. That tire strap daisy chain keeps the tire hooked onto that Molson Canadian ride as he goes for a vicious ride, goes helicopter mode. You see everyone take evasive action off into the grass with Laura Wiseman. Hardy's machine going to get through. And then the 49's not done yet. He comes back up the racetrack, pays another visit to the safer barrier, and then it looks like a couple trucks just skate by as he was coming back down the racetrack, Mike.
So with that being said, I'm going to assume we're going to have wholesale pit stops here.
Yeah, I assume everyone's going to come down here and take tires. I would be shocked if someone just did fuel only. And that's only because, like, you know, it ran about 125 laps. And let's see, these guys have been out there for 30. Oh, the 64 overshoot his box a little bit. Had to throw it in reverse. He still doesn't have it. There he goes. But I would be shocked if you didn't see tires. And there's the jack going up. And we got all kinds of drivers overshooting their pit box here, Mike.
Yeah, they missed their stop sign. Or some of them probably have a little bit of damage. And
yeah, that's
exactly,
the other part, too.
And exactly turn there, but race off pit road is won by, surprise, surprise, Aaron Smith.
Smith's going to win the battle on pit road here. He's going to come off with the lead. Brian Mulliter going to come off there in second. Samuel Stoner continues to be extremely competitive and impressive here at Atlanta in third. Robert Brost, he's up 8 positions from where he started in that 4th place position. Michael Grudger, looks like he's going to be lining up here in 5th. Evan Hoopchuk, Dan Ott, Benson Weaver, Jay Bast, and Ken Estep are going to make up the top 10 as we get ready to go back. Green Flag Racing, and just about every driver out there, Mike, the call was 4 tires and fuel.
Yeah, 4 tires, fuel, and if there was any damage, please fix it as fast as possible.
Yeah, it looked like some of these guys had a fast repair as quickly as the damage was fixed. And you know what? Probably not a bad thing to have in your back pocket, is we've seen at times when they decide to wreck out there. I mean, they're not minor. They're big-time incidents out there on the racetrack.
Yeah, these drivers are so competitive, and there's so many cars within, a few inches of each other. When there is that little mistake or whatever, it takes out most of the field here when you're talking, the super speedway S tracks.
And just when we went on board, we showed you guys at home, the visibility it's almost non-existent outside your front windshield. Forget about saying a couple trucks ahead of you. And even when we were riding with Samuel Stoner, I mean, he was out there basically leading the race, and then all of a sudden, he's into the fence and doing barrel rolls. No idea it was coming, so that's how fast it can literally go down. These drivers don't even sometimes have a chance to react to it before they're in it.
Smith and Moulter on the front row, headed to the quad oval. Pace car makes that left-hand turn. Smith with the button. When he's going to go through the Geico restart zone. He waits almost till the end, and we are Green Flag Racing. Samuel Stoner trying to stay right with him there.
Yes, Samuel Stoner is doing everything he can to stay right with the 70 of Smith there on the bottom. Let's see what the 4 does here. He's going to pull in line for now, so it's going to be a 4-car train breakaway, single file there on the bottom. In fact, just as I say that, more trucks follow suit. And Dustin Bawley off the racing surface there in the back of the field. Not sure if he had a problem there coming up to speed, or there was some contact on the racetrack, but he took it to the flatlands there, but seems to have everything sorted out now as he's coming back up to speed. However, Mike, he's mired back in 18th.
Yeah, definitely not where you want to be. It looks like these guys have all decided pretty much to stay single file. Like one truck just on that outside, and that's going to be Michael Grudger here.
Could be, these drivers, they're smart enough to know, hey, if we keep racing like this side by side, as good as they are and as fun as it is, one little wrong mistake and we see what the end result is. So, perhaps, I don't want to say, a competitor's agreement, but perhaps they're dialing it back just a little bit so everyone has a shot potentially to throw their hat if it's coming out of here with a win. And I think before, that white flag comes out, it's going to get back to that hot and heavy action before this is all said and done, Mike.
Yeah, you're definitely not wrong there. Looking at the last lap times, though, Dustin Bawley with the 29.52, fastest man on the track.
That is an absolute screamer. And in fact, Steve Loving just went faster. He just turned a 29.43.
Yeah, you'll see that at these plate tracks. The guys up front aren't going to be going the fastest. It's the guys just off that tail end of the draft. They'll get that draft picked up, and then all of a sudden they'll be able to shoot forward and get those lightning quick laps.
Yeah, they don't have to necessarily check up. They can utilize all that momentum that they've generated longer. Ooh, almost a moment there as the 5 had to go below that red line there, almost said double yellow. That's at Talladega, but he gets it back up on the racing surface, and that competition's starting to heat back up. as they try to form a second lane again. And here comes the 4 of Brian Molitor. He's going to have some eco boost power behind him, and that's going to be the 64 of Grudger working with him on the high side.
Yeah, Brian Molitor not taking the way around that Grudger did earlier. He is right off of that right rear quarter, and he is side drafting all he can of Samuel Stoner, trying to pull that inside line back, and he is hanging right with him.
And he does actually pull that inside line back, but those 2 trucks on the outside, almost 3 wide. The 64 had such a big run. He probably thought if he would have made contact with the 4, it was going to be game over. So he almost took it 3 wide, was able to bleed off that momentum, and then dart back inside the 4 of Molitor. That was a brilliant piece of driving there by Grudger, Mike.
Yeah, Grudger saw that happen, and he backed off just enough. With that being said, Dan Ott goes from the bottom to the high side as he saw his chance to get around Samuel Stoner.
Yeah, Dan Ott now on the move hard as he's up to that 5th place position. Still slid back a couple from where he started, but definitely inside the top 5. And did you see that wiggle out of the 5 of Dan Ott? Mike, I'm telling you, this broadcaster's curse is a thing. I mean, we're just talking about him, and he just has an oopsie out of nowhere. As he went down, caught a flat piece of the racetrack, that truck got really upset. Some of these guys still looking a little loose out there.
Yeah, they're definitely getting a little loose. Looks like E-Step got a little loose there as well, as he's going back through the field just a bit. These guys have definitely turned it up just a touch here. Dan Ott staying in that high side, but going to have some pressure here from, looks like, well, that's Devin Jack. Laps down, but he's trying to hang on here, running 4th in the high side.
Yeah, running 4th in that high side lane right now, that's Samuel Stoner. In fact, Ford owns 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and make that the 6th place positions right now. So you got the Fords potentially trying to team up and take down that Chevrolet of Aaron Smith. In fact, that was a Blue Angels formation. It looked like something out of the air show at the start-finish line. And somehow we get back 2 by 2 as we fire back off into 1.
Yeah, Brian Molitor elected to let Michael Grudger go. Went clear up to the high side, went into the wall, almost into the wall, slid back behind him, was able to close in and get behind him and in front of Dan Ott as they swap positions here, trying to get everything they can out of that outside line.
And speaking of that outside line, there's a big surge from them right there. In fact, the 64 had the opportunity to come down in front of Aaron Smith, but does not wish to leave his wingman on the high side of the racetrack. And I'm also talking about Brian Molitor. And Mike, it's things like you do out there like that can go a long way at the racetrack. When you're working with someone on the high side of the racetrack, I mean, the worst thing you can do, in my opinion, is you bail on the guy that helps you get you there. But, you know, that's just my opinion. That's my philosophy. Not saying that's the right one, but I know personally I hate that. If I'm working the outside, if I'm the 64 of Michael Grudger, and, you know, Molitor's working with me, and we've came, you know, to the front on the high side from, you know, 15th, 16th back, and the minute we get there, you bail on me, I'm going to remember that later in the race as Aaron Smith continues to dominate this race.
Aaron Smith continues on that inside line as the laps start to wind down. We are 3 wide back behind him. Nick Sheriff in the middle trying to get a spot, and it looks like he will do just that as they're back to double file.
Back to double file. Oh, that got dicey. I think that was the 7 there. Yeah, Evan Hoopja got loose and he got squeezed up. I believe that was into the 29 of Dan Ott. And he was able to get it righted though, as he was able to, whoa, what a move from the 67 of Nick Sarif. He had a big time run in that 67 Bass Tracker machine. He's able to slide that thing, literally pull the slide job at a super speedway. That was pretty impressive. out of Nick, and he's now going to take over that 5th place position. He's on the move.
Yeah, Nick Serif trying to do what he does here.
I don't know where he got that run from, but it was huge. I mean, it looked like he was going 60 miles an hour faster than everyone else around him.
Well, he was the winner when we were last on a plate track back at Talladega, so he knows how to run here as he's going to look to the inside, try and push it. I was going to say he was going to try and push it 3 wide, but it looked like Evan Hubschak decided to kind of drift up just a bit as Brian Molter is still side drafting the heck out of Samuel Stoner. Samuel Stoner is going to have a plastered piece of the 4 right next to him.
Literally, that's well said, Mike, and you're absolutely right. In fact, it hasn't changed. We're still side by side, door to door at over 180 miles an hour going into turn 1. And Mike, guess what?
Popsicle sticks, what?
Popsicle, there you go. We're 1 lap to go, baby.
Aaron Smith, Michael Grudger, Samuel Stoner, Brian Molter, all working hard here, 2 by 2. Evan Hubschak gets a little loose, gets into Dan Ott. Dan Ott fides into Nick Serif as we're coming back to get the white flag. White flag in the air. If we get it, the next flag will end the race. Michael Grudger takes the white flag.
Michael Grudger takes the white flag on the Ford fighting on the high side of the racetrack as he has Brian Molter working with him on the high side. On the bottom lane, it has literally been Aaron Smith dominating or trying to do his best impression of dominating this race as it has been Stoner glued with him on the bottom as they come out of turn 4. Barney's got the checkered flag in the air. They bump, they touch, they twist, they slam doors, and I believe Aaron Smith is gonna get the win by 1,000th of a second at the line. Atlanta does not disappoint. Another nail-biting photo finish here at the end, Mike.
Yeah, we'll take a look here at them coming to the checkered flag. Molter gets a little touch there of Smith. Oh, looks like Grudger kind of caught it, and they were almost 5 wide at the finish.
Yeah, I didn't know who it was. I didn't know who won that race. I had to go to timing and scoring. I thought Stoner may have gotten it when he took it down to the apron of the racetrack there. I mean, watch this.
A good view here. Look at how wide they are spread out across the racetrack.
Just an insane finish here at Atlanta.
Camera, but heck of a run there. See if we can get these guys up here in the booth. Start with 3rd place. Matt, you're with Sam.
I wouldn't have gotten E3. Oh, hello.
Samuel Stoner, Matt, Mike up in the booth. You got a copy there, boss.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, didn't mean to chime in on your conversation you were having there. But, man, how about that performance from you in the 65 ride tonight? Man, you were able to fight hard, dogfight, muscle your way up there to the front. And obviously, you were able to work really close there with Aaron Smith. You almost got it done. Walk me through your race tonight.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it was just a matter of holding on as hard as I could. That bottom line gets real dicey. We were pushing up there over and over and over again. You might have seen me in the 4 getting a little close for comfort there quite a few times. I mean, ultimately, I just knew that I had to push Aaron, or the 4 car was probably going to end up on that podium instead of me. I usually work with my dude Gudger up there, but you know, I just had to do what I had to do to get myself into the points.
And that's the job at the end of the day as a race car driver. Great to have friends and you know, teammates, if you will, out there on the racetrack, but sometimes you got to do what's best for yourself and your team. And obviously, you certainly put on a heck of a performance here tonight. You know, you mentioned about these trucks getting tight on the bottom. Was it just the right front starting to burn off, and it was just hard to keep it down on the racetrack?
Yeah, that's what it seemed like. Plus the arrow getting light, or getting real light underneath when you're riding right behind somebody else like that. You know, it just about 5, maybe 6 laps in, you just start shoving up. That bottom line was just getting real difficult to hold. You know, I just kept I kept backing off. You had to really time it. There was a rhythm to the lift into the corner every single time, to not just demolish the guy outside. And I think I kind of figured it out by the end, and was able to take home this P3.
I'll say, man, that was one heck of a performance from you tonight. Before we cut you loose, man, who do you think? Who do you want to thank? Who helps you get it done on the 65?
Oh, my parents and my grandpa, they watch all these races and root for me, so they get it done. You know, my teammates over at Finish Line Racing, it's my endurance racing team. We got our sponsors at Even Better and Homebrew Auto. That's Jay Bast in the 53 back there. He's a part of that too, along with the 64 Gudger. You know, we work together pretty hard to make this stuff happen. So,
well, there he is, ladies and gentlemen. Samuel Stoner comes away with a thrilling primetime performance here at Hotlanta. Comes home with a strong podium finish. He comes home third. Mike, back to you.
Yeah, it definitely was a strong run there for that 65 machine. Let's see if we can get second place up here in the booth. Michael Mykop's in the booth. How's it going, man?
Not bad.
Well, that was some pretty tight racing there at the end. You wound up 14 spots. How were you able to work through the field here and get this podium finish?
I don't know, honestly. Just being there where it matters, I guess. Just being able to use tires and making some aggressive moves whenever people left holes open. And basically, this track has a lot of give and take on it. And if you can take at the right spots and give at the right spots, you can get yourself to the front pretty quickly and pretty easily.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like you found the groove on the track. You were able to avoid some calamity there. But you head here from Atlanta back to the road courses. How are you feeling for the rest of the season here?
I don't know, because I have no idea how many races there are left, and I think it's one plate race. I only really do the plate races just because the stock cars and road courses are not my thing. Now, if you did actual road cars, then yeah, I'd probably be here. But, I do appreciate the lead Dustin set up. I think everything's nice. Thanks to Paul Matt Golf for putting this on for us, and thank you for everybody who helps us run this league. It's a lot of fun.
Definitely, man. Well, before we get you out of here, anybody else you want to thank for your P2 finish?
Not really, honestly.
Well, congrats on your P2 finish, and maybe we'll see you, I believe, at Daytona.
Yeah, I'll try my best to be there.
All right. I will turn it over to Matt with the race winner here.
Aaron Smith, Matt and Mike up in the Tony Trapasso Memorial booth. You got a copy there, Rockstar?
Yeah, I've got you.
Well, hey, Aaron, here we are again. Another race in the books, and we're talking to you up here in the booth after the race. I mean, talk to me about what we witnessed here tonight. I mean, those heat races, I mean, the crashes were absolutely wild and insane. And that really set the stage tonight for what Mike and I thought was going to be the ultimate test of sim racing driver and virtual machine out there on the racetrack. And to top it all off, I mean, you're just out there at times making it look easy, but I know it was anything. It was anything but that probably out there on the racetrack. How were you able to get that Chevrolet to the front, almost by yourself? It looked like at times, and come home with the win.
Yeah, it was pretty easy to get the job done there in the second lane by myself. I don't know how much traffic I had behind me, but when the bottom line gets really stacked up on the inside, it really makes it easy to kind of roll around the middle. But the tires wear out so quickly, so you have to get while the getting's good. And fortunately, that's what I did, and I was able to keep it at the front row there.
I was going to ask you about these tires. You mentioned you were able to make a lot of time up there on the high side of the racetrack. How long did you have roughly before those good years started to give up on you when you were working that lane on the racetrack?
Yeah, I wasn't able to go that much higher up on the track for the feature, but during the heat, I was able to get maybe 3 or 4 laps out of it before they crashed in front of me. So I don't really know the limit of the tires on that line, but I would say maybe 5 to 7 would be the most if you want to really make the most of it. But yeah, unfortunately, that we didn't get a run long enough for the heat to make that happen. But the feature was still really good.
Yeah, it absolutely was, man. So talk to me now about this momentum you got here. Obviously, you had a great battle out there on the racetrack last week. This week, you have a thriller coming to the line as you're beating and bagging off of Michael Grudger. You're 5 wide at the line when the checkered flag's in the air. Did you know you won that race, or did you have to go look at timing and scoring?
I had a feeling I'd have a pretty good shot at it. I didn't realize we were 5 wide, but when we got net coded together there coming to the line, I started drifting up the track. I had the car or the wheel turned as far to the left as I could to keep from putting them in the wall and wrecking myself. But yeah, I was a lot closer than I thought it was there. So I'm glad I was able to have the momentum and pull it out.
Yeah, I mean, we talked at the top of the broadcast that this racetrack in real life has put out some thrilling finishes on the Cup Series side of things, and we even said that we could certainly see that here tonight with you guys. And voila, you definitely don't disappoint. A 5 wide photo finish for the win. Another great drive, Aaron Smith. Before we cut you loose, man, who do you want to thank who helps you get it done on that Chevrolet?
Well, I'd like to thank all the folks at Road and Plate for putting this show on, Palm Rat Golf for supporting the league, y'all for broadcasting, all the folks for watching. Looking forward to getting back at it at Osher next week.
Well, there he is, ladies and gentlemen. Aaron Smith comes away with the big time win here at Atlanta. A photo finish 5 wide at the line. And that Silverado had what it took to best the field here tonight. That's your winner, Aaron Smith. Mike, back up top to you.
He definitely had what it took to get it done tonight. That being said, let's go through the race results here. Aaron Smith, Michael Grudger, Samuel Stoner, 1, 2, 3. Brian Molitor comes home P4. Evan Hoopshack, P5. Robert Burbst back in 6. Steve Loving, Dan Ott, Johnny Rapp, Mark Royce, Jay Bast, Dustin Bally, Derek Fakay. You got Benson Weaver, Sean Johnson, Nick Sheriff, Laura Wiseman, Ken Eastep, Chris Winslow, and Tom Wendt round out the top 20. And then like Devin Jack was the last man to take part here. He was the winner of the heat race tonight, so he did not or was not able to vault that into a feature win, but still got a win tonight as well. But they leave the plate track behind and go road course racing next week. Anything you want to say, Matt, before we get out of here tonight?
Well, I certainly think these drivers put on one heck of a show. If you're watching us live here on Sim Racing Media and you want to make sure you get notified each and every time Road and Plate is live in primetime Thursday night, it's simple. Smash the like button, ring the bell, come home to 7 days of high flying, high octane racing action right here on Sim Racing Media. Because, Mike, let's face it, These guys put on one heck of a show, whether they're on the road course side of things or lighting it up on the plate track. These group of individuals don't disappoint. And my God, were we treated to an absolutely thrilling race here tonight. It had everything you wanted. It had the spectacular crashes, the hardcore side-by-side racing action, and a 5-wide finish at the end. Brilliant performance all the way around.
Yes, it definitely was. So with that being said, we're going to wrap it up here tonight from all the drivers of the Palmer Rat Golf Truck Series and all of us here at Sim Racing Media. I want to wish you guys a good night. And, whoa, before we go, don't forget to tune in Saturday. We've got some big things brewing here on Sim Racing Media. So from tonight, get a break on Friday, come back Saturday, and we've got a special broadcast. I believe it's going to kick off about noon Eastern, have 4 heat races and then a feature. Definitely check that out. That's going to be with the, find it real quick, with the Kansas City Pioneers. They're putting on a Daytona series, so check that out Saturday. Tons of action is going to happen here on the network that day. With that being said, from all of us Sim Racing Media, we'll see you Saturday. Good night, everybody.